This is the continuation of your ultimate news current affairs program, reaching you live from our Lagos Network Center on the ITV network. I am Joshua Okata. On the program this morning, we'll be having a conversation around the Benin Republic failed coup attempt vis-a-vis Nigeria's military intervention around the airspace of Benin Republic. Of course, it's also interesting to note that since this news broke out in the early hours of Sunday, Nigerians across various political and social divide have reacted to these issues. Of course, alleging that there's been some very major underlying issues associated with coup d'etats, especially cutting across the ECOWAS region. Conspiracy theory flying here and there, and with Nigeria's involvement, especially with the Benin Republic failed coup, what would be the impact this would have on Nigeria given its military intervention within the airspace of Benin Republic? These and more would form the basis of our roundtable discussion this morning from our Lagos Network Center. And I'm being joined by Mr. Dami Damola Kolawole Esquire, who is a legal practitioner and, of course, a public affairs analyst. Good morning, Mr. Dami, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Good morning, Nigerians. Thank you for having me.
All right, now, before we delve into the crux of the matter, let me get your bite, especially on the issue of this particular failed coup d'etat, which happened in the early hours of Sunday, where, there was an almost, I'll put it that way, a deposed of the Beninese president in the person of Patrice Talon.
Thank you very much. It's quite unfortunate that some persons will rejoice in line with their interest in military intervention. It's also unfortunate that some people will not be happy thinking about the incessant military interventions within the region of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But one thing we should understand is this. While some persons will tell you the best of military rule or military's incursion into democratic governance will not match with the worst of civilian rule, civil rule, or democratic dispensation. These are three different things. When you say civil rule, when you say civilian rule, and when you say democratic dispensation are three different things. But you see, what we need to help ourselves with, why, the interest of the military coming into, civil relationship, why the, interest of military intervention becoming a norm in recent time within the West African region. You see, the most important thing we should see, and the most important reason, the crux of this matter, the core issue, the interest, is bad governance. See, when there is bad governance, and then generality of the people are not comfortable with the system of government, the direction of government, failed promises, you should expect that a lot of persons get disenchanted within the context of the pattern, the direction, the mechanism of government. And then you see such person thinking in the light that even the better time of the military rule, I'm going to repeat that, they will see it as military rule was better. So they will say the better time of the military rule is far more than their expectation in democratic dispensation.
So are you, by virtue of this analysis, saying that the majority of the Beninese are not comfortable with the incumbent government in place, giving rise to a coup d'etat?
In 2016, if you look at it, the president of Benin, in his campaign understanding, actually made generality of persons understand that, look, coming into becoming the president of Benin, he is interested in actually going for a one term. You see, they had that understanding that he was actually coming to normalize issues and go for a one term. The president went for a first term, a second term, and then the current campaign and machinery of governance actually shows the fact that the president is going for a third term. And a lot of persons are complaining that even the oppositions, there is a female, party leader in Benin that was actually sentenced to 20 years imprisonment. Another opposition was also sentenced recently to 20 years imprisonment. So it is seemingly looking like a state capture. And then there is no free speech. There is no freedom of anything in Benin at the moment. So a lot of persons will ask you, is it a democratic system in Benin Republic, or a military dictatorship system, or a totalitarian system, or an autocratic system? You see, all this gives room for interventions, because now it's about the state, the authority given to the state, the authority given by the people, the sovereign right of the people, given to a government personnel or group of persons to rule, and the group of persons that rules did not give the people who gave them the authority the freedom of speech, did not give them the freedom of independent of the judicial system of government, only gave them financial recklessness, mismanagement, corruption. What do you expect the people, how do you expect their responses, their reactions to be to the irresponsibility of government? And that is what you see today in most African countries that are clamoring for intervention. It seems more or less like intervention now seems more, adorable to Africans within the context of bad governance.
All right. Now, when you say it is becoming adorable, let me also remind you that before now, we've had military intervention. We had one in Burkina Faso. We also have in Niger. Now, it's happening in Benin Republic. Would you say that the military intervention is becoming more so adorable that it's cutting across almost all the West African coast? Why is this happening at this time? Now, that on the one side, could that also spell that this is the most, preferred alternative to go, given what we're saying right now?
It is not the, best alternative, no. But look, when the available becomes, when the desirable becomes unavailable, the available becomes the desirable. We need to understand this. Comparative understanding, comparative studies, we will know that, look, if the multifaceted plethora of inadequacies within the context of democratic, dispensations in your region, if all the issues that shows the element of totalitarianism in your state, if all indexes points to the direction of autocratic governance, what you have is what you are seeing. What you have is a lot of persons who have that mindset that, oh, we, the supreme military, we, the reformed military, and the likes, are coming in to salvage this system, are coming in to save, governance, are trying to protect the constitution. You see, they will give you a lot of excuses why they should come in. But the reason, even if they do, I will tell you as a matter of fact, when it gets to a head, you see the people protecting, democracy. You see generality of Nigerians coming out to protect the system. But if the system does not protect Nigerians, if the system does not protect West Africans, if the system does not protect ECOWAS, community, if the system does not protect the people in this region, how do you expect the people to protect the system? You see, look, there's a Yoruba adage that says that when the winds actually takes your clothes off the cliff, you that you are wearing yours, be careful. You see, what it entails or what it actually portends is the fact that, look, we need to be careful. We need to be careful. Pattern of governance, mode of governance, direction of governance is about the people, not about the government.
Now, when you say pattern of governance, mode of governance should be about the people.
That's right.
What's your take as regards the issue of anti-colonialism, which Nigerians feel could be the reason for the rise of military coup d'etat?
See, sovereign. Nigeria is a sovereign state. A lot of persons are arguing that, look, even flying your jet into another sovereign state, if you are looking at ECOWAS and ECOWAS cooperation, if you look at, pact signed, convention signed, treaties signed, if you look at the contract involved and then the principle of pacta sunt servanda, where we could say, yeah, it's correct, it's in line, but a lot of persons will also argue that, look, foreign policy emanates from your domestic policy. What is your interest? What is your domestic policy? If you don't protect your nation, if you don't protect your domestic interest, if you don't stand within the context of protecting security in your state, protecting employment in your state, protecting governance in your state, protecting the people, ensuring the fact that there are all the necessary amenities for the people to actually thrive and be happy, you have no business thinking about the populace or the governance or the mechanism and direction of another sovereign nation. A lot of persons will come out to actually argue that before you think about, the speck in other person's eyes, please, why don't you search inwards? Look at yourself. Preacher, heal thyself first. You see, it is most important that, look, the developed nations, big nations like Russia, big nations like China, big nations like the United States of America, think about the interest of their people before any other thing. You see, so before you think within the context of foreign policy, domestic policy comes first. Your domestic interest shapes your foreign interest.
But some persons also, argue that the ECOWAS region is trying to break loose from this undue influence the West has on the ECOWAS region, which is giving rise to this, military intervention, as it were. Do you think that it's about the Western interest on the ECOWAS region?
There are three most important things the West have interest within the context of Africa.
Is it resource-based?
Number one, you said it.
No, I'm asking you.
You're correct. Number one is resources, because in Africa, abundance of resources. Number two is the fact that we have the manpower to work. You have the teeming population who are willing to work. So manpower is another. Number three, we are also the market.
Population size.
We are the market. Most of these resources, when you take it from Africa and take it abroad, by the time the resources that you are taking here are the rates of the international denomination, they direct the price by which they will buy from here and take it over there, refined product. We are the ones that takes all the necessary visas to still go and work there. You understand? Post-colonialism. And then the refined product, we are the market. Did you see that? And look, even the corruption, the multifaceted corruption that you see in Africa, these monies that are stolen variously from various ministries, department, agencies in Nigeria, for example, and are stashed abroad, then we still go back there because we need to still take loan. So the monies that are stolen here and saved there, we go back there to take those monies as loan, and we continue to service the loan. So it's a recycling process, which in the real sense of it, it is high time that Africans start to think how to unite and interrelate within themselves away from, when you talk about colonialism, we are in colonialism already.
So is it okay? Is it safe now to state that the route the likes of Burkina Faso is towing now is the right step in the right direction in terms of looking out of the box to see how independently the ECOWAS region can be able to develop themselves without foreign intervention or foreign assistance.
Even looking at the constitution we practice today, even looking at the constitution of the Nigerian state, you see, the preamble of the constitution is telling you we the Nigerian people. Where is we the Nigerian people in the constitutional development of Nigeria? It is a null hypothesis.
So it's only the military intervention that can resolve.
No, but we need to think inwards. How do we think inwards? See, autonomous constitution, we need to agree. The Nigerian people needs to agree. The Nigerian people needs to understand the kind of system they want, the kind of direction they want, the mechanism by which can give them the real development and not this, colonial giving development. No. It wouldn't take us anywhere because we'll continue to go merry-go-rounding.
But a democratic system tends to be tilting towards the colonial way of doing things.
Because that is the foundation of the Nigerian state.
So is it safe to say that the military intervention now will be able to take us to our Eldorado?
Look, if the military intervention, the plethora of military intervention you are seeing in West Africa and the Sahel region and Coup, if it will give the people what they want,
so
the people will sing Hallelujah chorus.
Oh, really?
Look, do you know that it is not the pattern, it is not the means, it is the effect that the people are basically concerned about. It is not democracy, it is not dictatorial, it is not totalitarian, it is not autocratic. What the people want is do what makes the people happy.
However the means.
Look, if it is regionalization, we said this is federalism, right? This is federal. But look at true federalism as postulated by Casey. Where? Are we practicing the true federalism as postulated? Oh, when the campaign comes, everybody shouts federalism. But look, if you go into the interpretation of federalism, we need to understand that we need a strong component unit that have been together, like the Nigerian state. We have various, component units. Do we have the strong component units? No. The answer is no, because everybody runs to where? Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. So it means that we have weak component units and a strong center. So everyone focuses on the center. The center decides who gets what, when, and how, as interpretation of politics by Harold Laswell.
All right, now let's come back now to the issue, especially looking at Nigerian government involvement, especially by virtue of, the military intervention. Some Nigerians are pointing to a tweet the French government made. Emmanuel Macron is on his official Twitter handle, which says in part, "I convey France solidarity in the face of various security challenges," and so forth. This was a tweet that came 2 hours after that failed coup attempt. Some Nigerians are saying that could this be trying to add 2 and 2, that the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria actually got a tap or pressured to move in? What's your take on that?
Well, you see, I will not hold brief in the direction of what we don't have factual issues or documentary evidence to actually prove. But one thing you should understand is that I will not be so comfortable with Western nations, powerful Western nations, coming in when there is, an effect in such regard. You see, I would have been more comfortable that they come in where there are causes, when the people are actually making a whole lot of noise about the fact that, look, there is no independence of the judiciary in this system. There is no freedom of speech in this system. The fourth realm in this system had been handcuffed. There is no freedom of this or freedom of that. This government is becoming more or less like a state capture. This government has become more or less like a totalitarian system. This government is becoming more despotic. Now, those are causes. But when the effect comes in, the Western nations are then interested. It means that they are not interested in the cause. They are only interested in the effect. Why? Because they have something to protect. No nation is interested in your country, in your people, larger, more important than their own people. No nation. There's no free lunch in Freetown. For any reason any nation is interested in you, there are underlying factors. There's no doubt about it.
All right. Now, let's look at those underlying factors. Number one, what would it be, especially given the fact that Nigeria's involvement has been seen in the case of Benin Republic, especially on the issue of sovereignty and consent? Don't also forget that just recently, about a few weeks ago, state actors and non-state actors within the Nigerian state were triggered when the U.S. government made a proclamation that if the government of Nigeria does not sit up and do the needful, they will do the needful for them by striking the terrorists. Nigeria said this was an invasion of our sovereignty. Is this a double standing, especially given the fact that Nigeria has also invaded its neighboring country, not even considering that this country also has its sovereignty? So what would you say in this? Is this a brazen act of hypocrisy or what?
Well, you see, there is, the principle of double standard everywhere. It happens. You see, when you talk about less latter, less ferenda, law as it is or law as it ought to be, it is always a different ball game. It depends on who is actually interpreting. It depends on who is talking. You see, there are biases everywhere. There are subjectivities everywhere. We know that in international relations, it is not about the principles per se, but about who is actually practicing such principle.
So in this case, it's not about principle.
No. Trash can. No, look, it's about who is practicing such principle. It has to do with how powerful the nation that is involved. It has to do with, the disparity in status. Because, look, like George Powell will say, all animals are equal, but one are equal than the other.
Okay, so when it comes to a superpower like
international
the US,
relations,
like the US, for instance, then we begin to give them some level of audience.
You should understand quite well that, when you enter into treaties, when you enter into protocols, conventions, you should understand that even though there is the principle of pacta sunt servanda, agreement must be kept, but look, the powerful nations determine and decide which agreement, which pacta
they will total
must be kept.
Okay.
Sunt servanda.
Talk to us about the issue of legitimacy of threats.
Well, you see, look, in the recent issue, is it legitimate for Nigeria to actually go into the issue in Republic of Benin? Well, I will tell you as a matter of fact that within the context of stability in West Africa, within the context of, Economic Community of West African States, within the context of the, conventions and the, treaties entered into by the African, community, one thing stands is, look, Nigeria will be much interested when it comes to, you call Nigeria the big brother. You understand, the giant of Africa.
Yeah.
Nigeria will be much more interested, just like, the debacle within the context of Russia, Ukraine. If Ukraine is interested in becoming North Atlantic Treaty Organization member, you will not be standing at the tip of the nose of a giant nation like that of Russia. If Russia decides to put a military base in Cuba, very close to the United States of America, Americans will not be comfortable with such. The same way, within the context of what is happening now, an instability within the region close to Nigeria, Benin, will be an instability into Nigeria one way or the other, because you know quite well the Sahel principle at the moment and the unity within the context of those nations.
So where's the place of collaboration without having to do it without their consent?
The interest is stability. The interest is democracy. The interest is the organization ECOWAS. Because if Nigeria decides to sleep on its right at this moment, being the giant of Africa, so to say, being the big brother, so to say, once Nigeria sleeps on this, the next thing you should understand is that, Benin is our next door neighbor. More or less, a larger part of Benin even belongs to Nigeria, or is part of Nigeria, or are Yoruba, so to say, at a stage. So once there is instability there, what are you expecting next? So Nigeria actually need to play that big brother, irrespective of the domestic issues happening in Benin or irrespective of the principle of sovereignty.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dami Damola Kolawole, Esquire, legal practitioner and public affairs analyst, for giving us your 2 thoughts on
Thank
this.
you for having me.
Really appreciate your time. All right, that's our offering from our Lagos Network studios.